Delicate getting the first pick. Oh, get 3, Pyro, get 3 with the
Wade Kid putting on a clinic. Whole team's down. Oh!
Experience tranquility.
Welcome back, all Overwatch Tranquility fans, or even those just hopping in to join to see what's going on, because you picked a nice night to join us, as we do have the grand finals here for the Transcendence tier, our highest tier of play here, between Battalion, number 3 seeded, and Godhands, number 5 seeded, and this should be an absolute banger of a matchup to finish up the seasons for this tier, as honestly, 2 of these teams coming in here, one of them a juggernaut of the tier, is well established. Another one, kind of a friendly rival to them. They do have a little bit of that connection that maybe my little co-caster BQ will go over in a minute. But we do have this pretty nice matchup. And again, I am Worscast here on your play-by-play, and I'm joined by VCast, who has joined us from beyond the grave here, as he has decided to grace us with his presence.
Yeah, legends of or the myths of my disappearance are highly doubted. But it's good to be back, Worse. It's good to be back on the mic, on the booth, and for what a game too, right? We've had such a gauntlet of a tournament in these playoffs in the Transcendence tier, the top tier, like you said, of all of Tranquility. And honestly, we've had a lot of surprises. We have a 3 seed and we have a 5 seed here in the finals. However, I mean, is it really that surprising that we have a team like Godhand ending up in the finals, right? They have been a Tranquility mainstay in this community for a while now. And it's so fitting, and you couldn't have written the anime arc and script better. The fact that they get to meet one of the most meaningful teams to them in the team of Battalion, right? They are very close between these 2 teams. They scrim each other often. They play with each other often. So you know that this is going to be a very meaningful game for both squads, right? So they're going to be trying their best, obviously, because it's a grand final, but also because there's a lot of bragging rights on the line between these 2 teams, right? So I'm very excited to see what we're going to get up and get into this game between these 2 teams. But most importantly, I think it's interesting that the paths they took here are slightly different, right? Godhand seemed like they had a much more easy path to this final. They had an easy 4-0 against Ghostly Peppers, which is very surprising to me. They've been one of the most strong teams for this entire tournament in this community. And then Battalion, they've grinded their way to this spot, and they've earned it. They had a close 4-3 match in the semifinal to get here, or the finals of their division, rather. So, I mean, the stage is set between these 2 teams to have a dramatic and high-stakes final.
Yeah, and I don't think this tier here has been one of the most dramatic tiers we've had of all the tiers here in the playoff brackets, because a lot of upsets. A tier of upsets, I would say. You had, of course, some major upsets was Alpha losing to Arcana Emperor, who Battalion ended up facing. You had Tempest, number 1 seed, who did defeat Godhands in that second stage to kind of take that spot from them when they did hit that bit of a stumble along with Ghostly Peppers. Tempest was there, and Godhands obliterated them out of the way. Ghostly Peppers on the other side of the bracket took out Praxis. Ember went out early to a number 7 seed Dirt. Like, there was just so many upsets here. Of course, Alpha, like I said earlier, but also Corvidity. A lot of these upper tier teams went out really early. Upper seeded teams went out really early, and a bunch of lower seeded teams came in. Not because it just kind of shows that seeding doesn't matter. Some teams do stumble in that second or first stage, but they can bounce back in that playoffs, and that's exactly what Godhands has done. Yeah. Battalion really is the only team here in the finals that wasn't an upset win to get there.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be interesting.
That is the nature of the playoffs, right? And they've been forged in the fire of the flames of this bracket. So, I mean, looking to our maps, our first map will be Ilios coming into the best of 4 in this grand finals here. And then obviously we'll go from there. Loser picks, Assault, Hybrid, Escort. You guys know the drill. This is not the first rodeo you guys have seen. And if it is, you're in for one hell of a treat.
Yeah.
So, Worse, I mean, Ilios is always a map that I know that me and you prefer to stay far away from. But nevertheless, we're going to start the journey of this grand final here tonight. Do you have any thoughts, any predictions? I mean, there's a lot of different meta compositions that could be run here. I don't expect any rush compositions here, honestly. I actually expect a lot of the Winston Zarya that we've seen so popularized. But honestly, the meta is in such a position and such a place right now that you can feasibly run a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, the meta right now, especially after that previous high-level Tier 1 play that we've seen, the recent tournament, there was a lot of different stuff being shown off. The Rush was coming out mid-map swaps. There was a lot of that, what people didn't really consider to be strong, which was Monkey D.Va. A lot of people were like, yeah, Monkey goes with the Zarya, D.Va goes with the Rhine, but teams were changing that up. We don't know what we're going to see, but I actually was able to, luckily enough, was there to cast Godhand's last final, the final there against Ghostly Peppers, and they were honestly super dominant on that rush, but also very interestingly, they pulled out a lot of Bastion. Now, yes, they were like absolutely rolling that series, so it wasn't maybe a true indicative of what kind of strategies they're actually practicing for these grand finals, but it was something that they did pull out multiple times, and I think looking here at this preview right now, both of these teams running this dive composition, this is going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. You don't have a Mercy yet, but I assume Mist is going to swap over to that.
Yeah, I have to assume that this is similar in what they're going to run. Who knows if Cairo is actually going to stay on this Soldier? I would love to see it. But Godhand, I think this is a really good composition with the Sombra, being able to get early hacks, control the health packs, and actually use those EMPs. As you see the swap to the Genji. Okay, haven't seen that in a while. How are you?
He is going to be locking that Cybernetic Ninja. He will have that Nano to combo with him. He usually goes onto the main tank of Winston, but looks like they will not be putting it on Andy maybe. As right now, going onto this high gun, the Soldier defending his poach, though Andy jumps in, does end up dying. That's kind of the thing when you don't have that bubble. It's a lot harder to get into those positions because it just blocks all the damage, whereas DM doesn't always do so. The res does come out, so it's going to be equalized here on the point, but it's just going to be Battalion rolling over here, trying to move to this point and taking it the first capture. And as you know, Beak, first capture on control is the most vital thing, as it statistically has the highest impact on if you win that map.
Yeah, hey, honestly, just give the grand finals to Battalion right now.
Yeah,
right?
They won. It's better
exactly.
control play
Game's
wins.
over, right? But hey, Cairo, being the MVP that he is, getting the first pick of the entire series alone, and also Pro Gamer on the Pharah has been super strong as of late. So now it's on Godhand to be able to come back. Look at the 85% Orsted already on, ready for that EMP, getting close. This might be right now, but he goes down.
Yeah, he was capping that point. Get the back cap, almost does it, but it's a really good job there from Star Platinum to go and contest it. And as I say that, the Genji that we kind of memed there from Mini is getting a lot of damage on. Gets that Mini, haha, but he ends up going down, losing his life. And Pro Gamer with that barrage is there to clean it up. Mini almost managed to clutch that out despite being down one early, but he goes down to the tank duo. They can't really do much after that, as the point though might be swapping over. The Sombra is back. Yes, they did die very early, but they can get back into this fight with all that speed from Stealth and Translocator, and they can move on to this point. The mine's going to stop them, so Platinum actually finds the D.Va with that, but Orsted is on this point, and he has capped it, and now they'll be building up that percentage.
What's so interesting is that game went over to Godhand's favor, you know, even before the fight was over, right? So, and they didn't even have to invest the EMP into this, right? So now they can nano Andy in, get a lot of cleave with this Monkey. And what else do they really have? Sweden doesn't even have the Transcendence here yet. They might have a bomb coming online. They have the Mercy Valve, but there's the EMP.
It finds the Zen, as everyone knows. If you get EMP'd on Zen, it is a death sentence. So all your health is gone. It's all in that shield. And of course, EMP does remove that even in physical in the space or on your character. The shields will be gone, and that's exactly what happens. As then it's just the easy cleanup. They can't use their abilities to run away, so all the damage will come down onto them. As right now, it's looking good for Godhands retaking this point and taking up the percentage.
And that's even more devastating. You got a pick there when everyone's trying to reset. It's another 10 seconds off the clock, honestly. And look what the tools that Godhand has ready to go. They still didn't even need to invest in that Nano. They have a Nano Blade if they want to do it, if they want to throw it on Mini, or they can do a Naked Blade as well. But there's Nano, there's the Blade. Here we go.
Yeah, the Blade does come out. It's not finding anything. The D.Va's going to run away, and the Nano wears out. The Blade is gone, and they're going to have to win this fight without that Nano Blade. The Brick is taken out, but this Chew traded back by this D.Va. Boredom, who we saw in the last finals do so much there on that D.Va. Had such massive bombs, such massive plays, is doing it again. Finds 3. Another hack, a manual hack comes out. Cancels the barrage. It does find its initial target, though, in that Winston. They're down, and the EMP is still available. But it doesn't look like how the follow-up if they do pop it, and that they won't. Or instead, very disciplined on that. Sombra is not going to just throw that out willy-nilly. And as Boredom here is going to try to take out the enemy D.Va, but instead just gives over the mech.
No, obviously don't want to invest it anywhere. There was pretty much already turned over to Battalion, and honestly, they really only need one fight in truth going there. But no value coming from the Nano Blade at all. And the interesting thing is, the Trans wasn't even online yet. It was at like 90%, right? So there really was an opportunity for Godhand to get some value out of that. But credit to Battalion just spacing out, giving nothing to Mini as they are then going to try and invest this and try and go on the attack.
Yeah, and now the Ana is already down. The manual hack comes out of the monkey, Ball. I just said every other main tank name for Monkey. Yeah, but Ball does manage to live through that hack, and now Faux Gamer with the shot on the Mini taking them out, and the Genji showing off that it may not be the most effective pick here as 94 seconds to go. You swapped off the Ana, and your only win condition with that Genji, the Nano Blade, was wasted, so maybe a little bit of a misstep here from Godhands.
And honestly, I think the big MVP of the last fight, don't want to speak too often, even though the cleaning up is happening here, is the Transcendence. Get a 4-man EMP from Orsted, gets a lot of value, but the Trans, that was successfully being able to hide. But this fight doesn't even seem to turn over yet, but it seems like actually over. It is over. That's right.
Mini got 1v6 clutch coming in from the Genji. To change his name to Pro Gamer if he manages to pull this off. That's 2 to start, but he's gone down, and Greninja finds Boredom, and now everyone else on point is neutralized. Just the Ball, and he gets stuck, and he will go down as the 100 to 80. Okay, I can't quite see that number because I'm blind in many ways. I think that's 88. Pretty sure that's 88.
That's right. I mean, for our first map or first point here, early themes are coming up. It's missed opportunities for Godhand, and it's taken opportunities for Battalion, and that's obviously why they get this first point. But again, can't emphasize enough the MVP decision there, or the execution on hiding from that EMP, getting the Trans, keeping everyone alive, and then it just wasn't enough value from Godhand to try and build back up any more ultimates that were important. You got Pro Gamer on the Pharah just putting out damage time after time. I mean, even with getting manually hacked out some of those barrages, it still got a ton of value, right? Still was a threat in the sky. With no like prevalent hit scan, Mini was not on that McCree as he is now. He did a lot with that fair pick. So as we go in, we're going to see some more rush compositions as Godhand was so well executed last week.
Yeah, and they running the Sombra once again. They did this last week, and this is what I want to see. How this round goes, I think, will determine how most of the series will go. It's a very staple composition, and it's one that Godhands is very practiced on, very good at, very disciplined on. And I think Mini on this McCree, a much better upgrade over that Genji, but the lamp is already forced out and it's already gone, and Andy will go down. This is something that we're not unused to seeing. Andy, the first one dead, is something that we saw in the last finals, but despite that, they managed to pull it out many of the fights even when he went down, because you get value before that. This is not one of those fights. He did not manage to find that value before he went down, and now in the backline, it's a Mini versus everyone else duel, as the Lucio as well will be joining them. But that should be just that. And again, the first percentage going over here to Battalion. As we said, statistics never lie. It is statistically the highest win percentage.
Yeah, and the theme of this to the matchup here is the difference in the Sombra, right? So the much heavier frontline presence for Battalion. That's why you saw the Immortality Field get popped from Godhand before the Battalion side did. But Orsa does have the EMP online. That's going to be key. If Godhand wants to win this round, they need to have that EMP up early and often, and it already is early, so let's see what they do with it here.
Yeah, the EMP going to be throwing in that Translocator, finds 3, but they do have that beat coming up. Mist did not get EMP, he will be living through that. Does get the beat out, but the May is already dead. It's a lot of the frontline pressure gone, but that's Andy dead, and it's McCree on the high ground with 400 HP from that shield, has living for so long, gets so much damage down, he misses his roll, and Mini finds him. Mini winning out the McCree duel, even though he had 400 HP on him, he still managed to make it out, as the D.Va going to the back line, trying to get an assassination there, but a lot of the time, even as memey as it is more efficient to just remech instead of putting yourself in danger.
I mean, it was really good execution by Orsa getting a 4-man EMP, but it was very telegraphed, right? Battalion saw the teleporter coming in. They were able to hide in that back corner. The Immortality Field was able to come out as soon as it happened. The beat was there as well from Mist, so way to quell the storm there.
Ooh, the D.Va ball in the backline does find Aurora. The counter shatter is there as well, but it shouldn't be too much. Chu get traded out, the main support, and the Reinhardt, but the Reinhardt is traded out by that High Noon as the Blizzard is zoning this Baptiste off. Gamer is forced to ice block from that Baptiste damage. some would call better soldier, as the Lucio runs for his life. And now this is final. This is the crunch time here, as you only have one more fight.
Yeah, and what does Godhand really have to contest? They have a beat. They're able to be aggressive here. They have a window, maybe. But they just need to be able to stay long enough to get that EMP online. But Orsted already really low. It has to probably TP out. But try and give it up the point. So the point will turn for Godhand here. So we'll be able to take a breath for a quick second. But they've swapped over compositions where how does Battalion be able to come back and combat this as they try and build up this last EMP?
Now, he said, what did God Hands have? But also the question was, what does Battalion have? But now, after that beat has already come out the window as well, the supports here for Battalion are hungry to get some value off of these ultimates to swing this in their favor. As right now, you're on a really weird composition where you have that EMP, that's the great equalizer, and then tries to look at the article, and Gamer sees it, blocks it, it's not gonna get EMP'd, and he does manage to take out Orsted, but it doesn't matter, because even if he doesn't get EMP, that didn't stop the rest of his team from losing all of their abilities. But still, that fight, even though they EMP you, even though they cycle that onto you, look at your ultimates, look at theirs.
Yeah, just die quick, right? So everyone gets EMP there. You lose a couple people early, then honestly, just take it, right? You have the luxury of having a 99% track here on his control point. You only need one more fight to take this first map of Ilios. Look at the ultimates that Battalion has to work with here. Godhand does have some of their own, but the most important one is out of the way. That's that EMP, right? So you can deal with the bomb, you could deal with mines, but now that you have the beat, be able to be aggressive, you have the May Blizzard as well. It's all about how you want to take this execution. But it has to be careful. This is the fight they need to win.
This is the fight. If you waste your ult and you lose this fight, it is a travesty and a half. The window is available, could be thrown out right here to try and cycle off, zone off this point. The High Noon does come out here. If this is massive, you can win this. Mist is dead. Oh, the bomb for Boredom! We saw this last week in the finals. We're seeing it again. Boredom's bombs and remake kills are here to stay, folks. And now the High Noon from Cairo cannot find the value it needs. We said this was the fight they cannot lose, and they have lost it.
Oh my god, I forgot that the remake kills are a thing, but even so, Boredom comes in clutch. The High Noon comes in clutch as well. Mist gets caught out of position away from the main tank shield. Exactly why you needed to do that is because now you're in a 99% situation, and I mean, all you have is really the immortality field and a window, but what's going to happen here?
Mines are gonna come in. You forced the Ice Block. Greninja out of that mech is gone from the fight. You've lost your diva. Even if they were in baby form, they could have gone back into that mech. The Baptiste is gonna be touching. The Shatter is available. Gonna be looking for this. Baptiste looking for anything right now, but they can't quite find it. Mini tries to find Lucio, kills him with a flashbang, and he is down. And this round looks so far in the favor of Godhand. And again, we see it again and again. Down ults, down positioning. They still manage to pull it out through sheer will of the individual play. Boredom, who we saw in last finals and throughout this entire season, has been absolutely sensational on that off tank, continues to do so with these clutch bombs and clutch plays as a whole.
I'm trying to think through, is it a matter of missed opportunities, right? Because I said God had some missed opportunities in that first map, which is the first point is why they lost Lighthouse. But Battalion had the missed opportunities in that point of Ruins, with the treasure trove of ultimates going into that fight, only needing one, making that fight way too long. Godhand gets the upper advantage there, and I mean, maybe it's not so much the matter of missed opportunities, but just both teams just refusing to lose when they're in what seemingly, you know, inevitably losing situations, right? So this has been amazing so far between both these teams.
What an interesting composition we're seeing here from these two teams. We have the Orisa ball here, a little bit of a Chengdu coming out here, as the Pharah is going to be piloting rockets from afar on Battalion. And this kind of does really hurt this Orisa comp. I think it's going to be hard for them to try and do something against this Pharah.
Yeah, I think Battalion just has way better of a composition. I think they tried to get a little cheeky with the Orisa, not really going to work. So, I mean, that's easy enough to go back to the drawing board. But what that will do is give the high advantage of Battalion on the ult charge and on the percentage of the tick, right? So, what is Godhand going to be able to do here? Are they going to stay on this Orisa? Seems like they are, but Boredom's going to try and stay on that ball as well. So I want to see how this plays out a little bit more, but it seems like it's a pretty clear advantage for Battalion here.
I think it's trying to do two very different things that in theory can synergize with each other, but it's very hard to do so. As right now we see Star Platinum going into its backside, gets pulled. That's kind of what you want from that Orisa, right? When the ball goes in, he's even in more danger. Not only do you get that CC from the flashbang, but you also get pulled in towards the team that you want to be getting away from. It also does slow you and all the other things, so that's kind of what the point of the Orisa is. But sometimes it can get outflanked, out-rotated, when a shield like Sigma or even a D.Va, right, could respond to this Pharah. But you can't do that as much on that Orisa, and right now the Battalion, Pro Gamer finds 2 with that barrage. As they get on that flank, there was no cooldowns to really mitigate it, but Kitten decides that they don't want to lose this fight and takes out 2 of their own as Boredom cleans up Cairo, and now the battle for the point does go the way of Godhand. So I was saying all that about the Orisa and all that, and really, even if the Pharah found value, Godhand found more value. But
well, the one reason I think it is a decent comp in the sense that if you play it right, it's kind of a hybrid of sorts, right? You have the ball and you have the tracer, you know, kind of diving with each other, and then you have the anti-tank, you know, anti-dive composition of like the Orisa. You have the BAP, you have the Kree, so it makes the ball's life hard. And I mean, obviously, it worked in that one fight, but now it seems like Battalion's coming back in their own time.
yeah, and it's looking good here as the point goes back in the way of Battalion, as a really good job there of catching out people. Kitten got really low, got killed, got rezzed back up, and then instantly killed back again.
And the reason why that's a good composition, but one thing the Battalion is doing and just did in that fight is that if Godhand let Battalion just get around them, and you know, of course, Orisa can't control all of that, and Pro Gamer already gets a really early pick on Worsted. So, I mean, already is coming up close to online on that Pharah barrage as the res is already being used, right? So again, it's all a matter of scouting where is Pro Gamer at all times, because they are the big linchpin in the Godhand plan of this composition.
Yeah, and right now you have so many ults though available for Battalion, but one that was just lost is that Transcendence with Barrage in the backline, looking for the McCree, and that they will find, and there's no DM, nothing to stop that Pharah from doing what they want, as the bomb going up in the air finds Orsted, and everyone has gone down here for Godhands outside of the tank and that Lone Mercy. Getting swapping the Lucio, but I don't even think they'll be able to touch. But in as I say that, Boredom does manage to get the touch of their own. Lucio will be speeding in, doing those rollouts, trying to get back as soon as possible. Boredom is one shot on that mini, but they can't even get there. So Lucio managed to touch the last, the McCree managed to touch the last second. Kitten hasn't quite committed just yet. There they are. They're on that point. They managed to assassinate Zubin, who had Transcendence. I don't know how that's possible, but even if I don't think they win this fight, as Smoke Platinum decides one punch to face is all they need to take out this Tracer, and the round as a whole will be going over to Battalion, but we've seen very different styles from both of these teams, and we've seen different successes on those styles.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that last point, it just was a matter of compositional execution, just better for Battalion there. And also, again, can't emphasize enough that these two teams know and play each other fairly often and know each other well, right? So this dynamic that we're seeing play out in this grand finals, you know, isn't by accident, as we see a scrunching from Boredom with the D.Va rack. It's still hilarious to me. That's the thing. But the devs thought that was okay in the game.
It's okay. It's okay, man. It's okay.
But it's okay. Exactly. It's okay. Anyway, but one thing I do know for sure is that this is going to be a series, right? We saw how close all three of those points were, except, you know, even if it was a 100-0 in that last one of the well, I mean, they were still close fights, right? So both of these teams are very, very close in terms of composition. And even a Battalion getting this first map, you know, Godhand is not just going to stay down forever.
Yeah, and I do want to see... because Godhands, they did lose that first round. They have map pick. That's how it works. Loser does pick. That is very traditional in Overwatch esports currently in tournaments. And of course, it is 4-4. It's just control copium. But we'll be seeing if they can get back into it, as there's some merit to It's Just Control. It's three very different styles of play on each different round that you can pull out in a lot of control maps, so it's very volatile in that sense. Whereas when you lose that first map, you can go to a map where the entire style of the map is going to be what you want, right? And I think for Godhands, it's going to be a rush map. And since it is an assault map, what kind of map do you want to see here for that rush style that's going to be like a dominant rush map where Godhands can kind of flex their stuff?
Yeah, and as we take a look at the map set here, ready to go, it seems like Hanamura is the choice.
That's a rush map, all right.
To the question that you just had, where is Hanamura a good rush map? And the answer is yes, honestly. And we'll see, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some Symmetra pop out, right? Try and TP up to the top left if you're the attackers, or TP right to point. We actually saw some of this in the previous game between Godhand and Ghost Pepper. So this is a try and true strategy, right? But whether it's Godhand or Ghostly Peppers, but it's also just a very common strategy across all Overwatch. So this is exactly where Godhand wants to play. This is that rush comp. map that you are talking about that's very comfortable for them. But I have a feeling, sneaky suspicion worst, that Battalion is very comfortable with their own rush composition, right? I think that they were playing it to a decently high degree on Ilios Ruins, right? When they were trying to play with the Mei and the McCree versus the the Sombra base composition that Godhand had. So I don't think Battalion is going to back down at all from this from this rush battle that we have that's so prevalent here. And as we see, they're already flirting with the two type of compositions from a rush perspective. But interestingly enough, boredom on the Sigma versus the Diva composition for the rush on Battalion. So I mean, obviously there's still time for that to be swapped out. But I mean, you've seen these different flavors not only at this level, but the Overwatch level, but the contenders level as well. So that's what I love about the meta right now, right? There's a lot of different flavors of this same kind of basic philosophy of rush that has been kind of customized to every team that you see.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Godhand and you're thinking about who's you have to shine a light on, Boredom is just one of those players that you just put the spotlight on him and he will perform every single time. We saw this in the finals last week. He performed incredibly well, not only on that Diva, but also on that Sigma. He is, I think, probably, in my opinion, the best off tank in Transcendence tier. Which might be a little bit of a spicy take, but right now the TP is going to be going out to that top right. Not on the point as so many others have done in the past. Gives a little bit more safety on the rotation. So they're going to get blasted by Pro Gamer on the backside. We see a really, really good job of just backing off here from Battalion. I don't even know if I say really good job. I think that might have been to their detriment. You gave way too much space to the Symmetra. They managed to charge up. Yeah, just ignore everything I just said before I just changed my mind, as I think the backing up is what ended up losing them that point. You have to play super aggressive against those Symmetra comps.
Yeah, it's basically just opposite day here, right? Worst.
Yeah,
I mean, exactly. They got the TP off, and they were able to get on point, really not with any kind of penalty at all, right? So now they're getting that free point. They have over 5.5 minutes, 5 minutes and 55 seconds, really, to be able to crack the egg that is point B here on Hanamura, and it seems that they're more than willing to do it. And I have a window ready to come up here. They're going to try and get some cooldowns out. But yeah, I mean, they're very close to this Sigma ult here too, right? So I think that's going to be the key and the go sign here for them.
Yeah, and look at the Sigma flank as he basically goes off to the side, pulls 2, and then dies. Unfortunate, but really, you have the Symmetra charging up on the point. You did a really good job of living as long as possible. Someone break the wall, break the wall, break the wall. If the wall goes down, this could be so massive. And if the wall does end up going down, but he still doesn't find it. They flash to the right. Sigma is walking back from the spawn, but even if he does die, it doesn't really matter as they're winning the fight on the point. Right now, it's just Cairo needing to die on this point. Pro Gamer coming out of that block is 1 HP, but the beat is there from Aurora. That's going to keep them alive, as now the ball dropping down, but the Sigma ult finds one, just the Lucio, but that's a really critical kill. He's a pretty slippery frog, so you want to get rid of him as soon as possible. The Doomfist is back, he's already 1 HP, and everyone else is going to go down. This is a common staggered fight on 2 CP. This is kind of par for the course, but the slam does go down, kills your own Lucio. You won't be getting any of those amped heals, as the beat is almost available, but still, 4 minutes and 43 seconds, that's 43 more seconds than they started the map with. Here for Godhands, and this is exactly what I want to see from them on that rush composition.
Well, it's like we said, we don't expect Godhand to go out without a fight, and I think that's a pretty good counterpunch to what Battalion had in their control point, and we know that they're proficient in that rush composition, and they're just showing exactly that, right? Battalion gave them an inch, and Godhand took a mile, and that's exactly what you see in that time bank right there in the 4:43 coming into this second round of Battalion's attack. And I mean, it really was just a whole, randomness here to that fight. You had the flank from the Sigma, gets punished, but still it was enough for the rest of Godhand to be able to make their way to point from a TP. You had the shatter missed from Star Platinum, just had to kind of back away. You had the all-star clip that we saw from Mini trying to high noon a Mei wall and then flashbangs the fence. So I mean, I think that was incredibly important to the eventual cap, but to Mini's credit, he does get some important finishing final blows to confirm the time bank that they had. So I mean, just all Godhand right now, right? This is exactly what they wanted, exactly what they planned up. So all eyes are going to be on Battalion here to see how they respond in kind with this rush comp of their own, as they're going to stay with this Ryan Diva composition, whereas Godhand is going to stay in what really did work for them, although Orsted is going to be on the long-range Hanzo for spam and maybe some pick potential as well.
Okay, call me an Overwatch boomer, but every time I see Mei on Hanamura,
You're an Overwatch
I
boomer.
flash back 2016, 2017, where Mei was considered a throw pick, and the only time you would see her was on defense Hanamura. And I remember every single time I go to Hanamura, and this was back when everyone sucked. Okay, so you would try to walk through that choke gate wall every single time, and you would always die. And now teams have gone,
Oh my
oh
god.
my, as I can't even finish my thought before Mini takes Kairo's head away from them. And that's kind of the danger of TPing to that point, right? Not only is the TP there going to be dangerous, but also when you put it down, you're in a dangerous spot because you had to peek straight from main.
Andy
if your
has
shield is
to
on
hold the
point-
shield there for his TP there, but either way, it just costs him another 10 seconds or so. But yeah, coming from me as the boomer between the two of you, I can confidently say that you are also a boomer from the comes an Overwatch
Yes,
perspective.
of
So
course.
I completely agree. But at least we get some break in the action as the TP is going to be coming in. They're going to try the right side this time.
Oh, it was a bait.
But Cairo, oh, kind of a bait. I like it. They're going to try and take the high ground, really take the long way around.
As everyone's just getting pummeled in here. No one ends up dying despite both of these teams running at each other. As I say, that pro gamer does take away Mini from the fight. Now you've lost your McCree, a lot of that damage. Orston's low. He's going to be your only source of damage, but look at that ult percentage. Already 83%. Of course, pro gamer had to swap away from that Mei, swapped into the Honda, so he's a little bit late. On that ultimate, but he's going to have it. And now they have the TP. That's going to be able to move everyone around, but the lamp comes out in a really awkward spot. There's no lamp available here for Stuban. And now the shatter is massive here for Andy, and they wish they had that lamp then. And now everyone's just kind of going down. They trade out the Vine, they're looking for another. But the D.Va could get staggered here, and the Lucio trying his best to leave as he tries to chase down this BAP actually, but won't end up doing it. Now the D.Va going to be doing the walk of shame here. Might even be looking to get a stun. No, they're going to be doing the walk of shame off to the cliff as we see DPI switch coming in from Boredom, and that is key to how you win games.
Yeah, so it just seemed like there was some sort of miscommunication there for Battalion, or maybe just a misclick for the Immortality Field. They were going to take the TP, and I think they just pressed the Immortality Field button instead of the Interact button to take the TP there first. And you even kind of saw, the BAP look down at the Immortality Field like, oh no, what have I done? And it just immediately comes back to bite them in the butt.
Yeah, and now we have the Flux come out here from Boredom. Launches Lucio's body up in the air, and the slam will come down. As a really nice flank again here from Boredom. I love this. This is like what I see on Sigma. And yes, of course, that other time he got punished for it, but also he was dragging two players away that entire fight and managed to live for so long that it gave them all the point presence. But this is what I love from Sigma, from Boredom Sigma. He flanks and takes such good angles, and it just hits all of his shots to the point where he's basically a flanking DPS with 400 HP, a shield, and a grasp.
Yeah, and honestly, Godhand is in such a nice position right now. They're just basically in cruise control in terms of the ultimates they have. They have both teams have beat, and of course both tank ultimates here online for Battalion. So what are they going to do? They swapped off the Symmetra here, but early picks already. The fight's already over before it even begins, before the rotation even happens.
Yeah, and there's only a minute left right here, and you're stacking yourself on this right side. You're thinking, okay, we can live long enough, build up some ultimates and do something, but you've lost your Lucio, you've lost your speed. Suban has no peel here in terms of healing outside of his own regenerative burst. Yeah, they're going to get pushed.
This is just going to go into like a kill box here. It's not even the worst thing they could do.
The bomb is going to get blocked off by that Sigma as Andy finds Star Platinum, but we traded out by Cairo. Is this good for them? Not really. They've lost their main shield, and now Cairo's on a tear! Cairo's killing everyone, but beats way too late. The counter beat to follow, even though it's only on 3. That one from Mist is on 5, and everyone will be losing their fight. And despite what we had said about it being a weird play, it kind of gets punished from God Hands. They don't react quick enough to when there's only 4. Mist gets back with that beat, and Cairo goes crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those, call a hospital, but not for me type of situations. You only have 3 members of the battalion and literally a kill box. You could not ask for more. For the Godhand just to kind of come in and take them out there and just stagger them even more. But the kills from Cairo, one or two after the other, has just been devastating and just breaks apart the defense of Godhand. And they live to tell another day, right? Otherwise, that honestly could have been a full hold from Godhand. And they had the ultimates to do it. Look what they have now still.
Yeah, and now the shatter on the backside. Yeah. Oh my, 3 fire strike kills as Andy flexing with that shatter right there. As Boredom throwing out his own Lytic Flux wasn't really necessary. And they're playing a little bit of skeet shooting there, taking out the Clay Pigeon. That is MB Compton. And now a really good setup here for God Hands. They have defensive positioning here, and they also have ults.
Yeah, and honestly,
not really.
Battalion has neither team has really anything to work with. But honestly, Battalion, look both ways before you try and cross that high ground. because Andy's coming in big with that shatter has been massive. So what are they going to do now? They can try and play this in a little more neutral of a perspective here. Where are they going to try and make this? They have the implication matrix coming online relatively. Enemy wall.
Yeah, the enemy wall was a little wonky there from Pogama. Boosted McCree up instead of blocking him off, but he didn't manage to find anything through that lamp. But then he almost gets pushed off. He gets pushed off that high ground, and now they have control again. They get their picks that they need, and they're building up more ults. Orsted, who had no ult just a second ago, now has a pulse bomb in one fight, and that's the power of Tracer, ladies and gentlemen. Every fight you could basically have an ult, which is basically an assassination onto a squishy character.
And what I think is a big key to success here for Godhand is, like, even though they're on defense, they are taking the fight to Battalion whenever they want, right? As soon as Battalion is trying to decide which way they want to engage on this high ground, maybe they want to go right to point, they're not really sure. It doesn't matter. Godhand's already on them and already executing, right? Already using cooldowns, and they're already taking damage, right? And you saw the high noon coming out from from Mini already, and they tried to block it off of Pro Gamer's wall and only helped them, honestly. So Godhand just being, again, proactive before the fight even begins.
Yep, this is exactly what you want to see from the defensive Tracer. Maybe a lot of other defensive Tracers might step back if he way too passive, but you have to be on that flank. You have to be threatening to assassinate a squishy, and now they have that Lucio. This is 10 plus seconds that they're stalled on the outside here with no speed, and now Boredom can push. They know they don't have that beat available, as they're just going to push in and take out the main tank here, as Star Platinum is dead, and now it's time to push, but they trade it back. But this favors the defense, as now it's Mini in that backline clicking heads like he always does. The flashbang obviously helps at first, but he doesn't even need it for the second kill there, and now they clean up only 30 seconds to go. There is no hope for Battalion here, basically, to finish with time. This is a very best for them a draw, and most likely a loss.
Yeah, and they're going to have to try and find a way to touch here. Obviously, it might be missed coming in, and they have some ultimates, but, I mean, worse, we can see, I mean, it's just a matter of who gets to the point here. They do have something to work with, but that'll be the biggest key.
Yeah, and right now they're going to touch that point. Pro Gamer's already dead though. Doesn't even get a chance to throw that blizzard on the point. The window is too much damage along with that McCree. The bomb going to get blocked off by the Sigma Boredom. Obviously not going to be one to mess up the timing on that. It's now just a little quick and easy cleanup here if you are Godhands, and a really strong, dominant response here. After losing that control point, they go, okay, we're taking you to a rush map and we're going to see how you do. And they absolutely clobber them with the Hand of God, and I messed it up, and I'm so sad. That would have been so good, actually.
It is. Doesn't matter. I mean, either way, whether you slice it, God Hand just completely dominating all of Hanamura, which is their own map pick. It's exactly what you expect as we see this nasty shatter coming out from Andy as they try and take this high ground. Like I said, no one even looking at him.
No,
that's the freest shatter I've ever seen. Oh, I wish he charged off the map. That would have been even bigger of a flex.
How much of a flex was that? Like, we talked about, these two teams are, like, pretty friendly rivals, you know? Like, obviously Godhand is very critical in the determination and coaching of Battalion, and maybe a little bit, just a little bit of trolling can be done there from Andy. You get the 3 fire strikes, you veer a little bit to the right with that charge, off the map, and even more mental damage has occurred. But of course, they're just a really good
mental
showing.
Warfare, right?
Mental warfare is
mental warfare.
The second most important form of warfare in Overwatch. The first is ultimate warfare, as that is what the game is based around.
And I think, I mean, we talked about how Godhand was very much more the aggressor on even the defense, right? But you can even go back and make the argument that being the aggressor on defense is what actually cost them the full hold when they chose to be really, really aggressive into the 3 remaining members of Battalion in the mega pack room to the right of point, right? Even if I would still take that fight 9 out of 10 times if I'm Godhand. I think Battalion just popped off in a way that only Cairo and the rest of his squad, the 2 tanks, could support him as they possibly could. But you still, that is the method in which this Godhand is winning this match. So, you know, obviously dominantly in that one map, and you can almost write off that control map so far because that was really, really close, right? But Godhand showed what they can do on that Hanamura map, and now it's all a matter of Battalion. Are they going to try and pick a map that's more dive based or double bubble based? You can see they're going to, we were looking at the map set here now, moving over to Hollywood, right? So actually, I think this is a pretty smart move from Battalion. They know the players they're playing. I love the mind games we're seeing in real time here between these 2 teams.
Not Kings Row.
Hollywood, yeah, it's not Kings Row, but more importantly, the second point of Hollywood is much more, I would say, suited towards a Winston or a Ball type composition that Battalion seems a little bit more better on compared to the God Hand, right? So I mean, even if God Hand is good on that composition, I think Battalion wants to take that versus the rush composition mirror, right? Because we saw how dominant God Hand was on that rush on Hanamura. So this is a good map for Battalion, but I'm sure God Hand is no stranger to what they can bring.
Yeah, and we have actually a substitution coming in. We do have Zuby or Cute coming in for Aurora. Obviously, both of them are those Lucio main support players. And we saw this in the finals. They were swapping up their main support. They were swapping on that Lucio up multiple times throughout the series. And both of them looked very solid. I don't think this is a concern at all. Zuby is super good on Lucio, just as Aurora is. Both of them work really well with their team, and it's kind of just a practice thing. They practice like this. That's how they're going to be playing in these matches. Play how you practice how you play is the motto, and that is what they exemplify here as God Hands moving on to Hollywood. This is kind of a map where it's kind of a hybrid, you know? You can have that rush kind of style on that third point and also kind of that first point, although it does lean itself over to DPS, more DPS
the
open
hybrid map is a hybrid.
Of course. It's like it's like Eichenwald or Nubani, really. King's Row is the only hybrid map that isn't really a hybrid map.
True. No, and I mean, I completely agree. And I mean, even have we seen some of the Overwatch level teams, Overwatch League level teams starting to play some more Winston comps even on like a King's Row, it still is a really good rush comp, right? So we're going to see probably maybe some of that in this first stage of Lisa and Hollywood as we jump into the map here. You know, Battalion is already showing their cards. They're going to want to play some double bubble. God Hand already knows what's coming. I kind of like that composition between the Sigma and the Winston. We'll see if they actually come out with that. I mean, boredom on the main tank, as we've seen him on the others. We've seen him so good on the Sigma just one map before. Now he's going to be swapping at least tank roles with his counterpart, so that'll be something to watch out going forward. But this is a composition that you've really seen a lot of the Korean teams run between the Sigma Winston compositions. But I like this a lot. You have the long range hit scan from Mini, trying to take either you see the cafe. I forget all my call outs. It's been a long time. It's been the cafe with the long range hit scan as well, and then Tracer and the monkey with coordinated dives, just trying to build that nano from Kitten. I like the game plan that they have coming out here, but it's all about how does Battalion come out and respond to this on this attack with the double bubble. Yeah,
this is kind of a composition that is a little bit different. Usually at the highest level, you have a ball instead of that Winston, and you have a Zenyatta a lot of the time, because the Discord gets a lot more consistent value in terms of damage than the Nano, as the Nano is obviously an ultimate. But stopping up a little bit because this is a much easier map to run that Winston on. Very easy to get in and out of places. But now they're gonna get flanked on by Pro Gamer. Obviously, this Pharah from Pro Gamer is just something you have to be deathly afraid of, as the DPS duo absolutely tearing it up in this cafe. The monkey is there to assist them, and they do trade out two here. The Ana and the Pharah are gone, well as the Mercy. Mini and Orsted, the DPS duo of God Hands, are responding on their own right. As right now, Boredom jumping to that point, and Andy will come back on that ball, trying to touch as fast as possible. The monkey shouldn't be lasting much longer, but he gets away into that cafe. The ball is back, and the Zarya is low on those stairs. So there's no personal available. They're going to get that chase going on. Yes, Orsted does die, but they're doing a really good job of stalling out this point. The Ana will be losing their life, and now the point in the fight in general is slipping back in the favor of Battalion right now, as God Hands losing way too many people on that recontest there too quickly. The Ana overcommitting to get some peek onto that main tank, and they lose everything. As right now, Boredom almost has that primal, but that's about it for the side of God Hands, as Cubed used that Valkyrie.
I will say, no matter what, I mean, obviously we see the Battalion going to be winning this fight, but God Hand refuses to ever lose fights, right? I mean, even if it seemed like that was a pretty clear-cut dive from Battalion early on, they didn't scout Pro Gamer coming over the door and through the back end of Cafe. I really like that. But still, God Hand, Mini popping off, getting 3 kills, making that even contestable is pretty admirable. One thing I do like about the composition Battalion has, look at all the ult combinations. You can do grab pulse, you can do nano into the Pharah, nano into the Winston as well. There's so many different things you can do, and already getting a kill doesn't even need the grab to be able to get value with that, because God Hand doesn't even have Zarya to use.
Orsted is such a dangerous Tracer player to go up against as a support. But even so, he gets traded out, goes a little bit too far for that Ana, doesn't have any blinks to get out after that recall. And now Star Platinum is going to be going crazy on the Ape right now, as he takes out the Ashe, who did trade out Suban, but it should get rezzed up very shortly. unless it is not available, as it might have already been used earlier when they died the first time. And now Kitten has that nano for the recontest here to put down onto boredom, but again, you only have that nano and that bob to follow, and the barrage here from Pro Gamer is going to be massive.
Yeah, and again, it's who gets this nano from Suban, right? And obviously the nano is getting passed on to boredom here, but not finding any final blows with this. But then the nano goes on to the Pharah, and the burn kills him with Mist, so already getting some value, but Pro Gamer trying to turn back. Solo ult to Mercy.
Yeah, you gotta solo ult on Mercy sometimes to deny that res, but getting away here, and still, oh, the Bob is available for Mini, but they're dead. They're gonna come back from Spawn. They can't quite see that cart just yet, and now just be Orsted in this Monkey available here to try and stall this out, and that they won't be able to do. And again, I think it's been very hard for Godhands here. They haven't had really a contest onto this point that's been coordinated enough with ultimates as well, because they have a bunch of those swaps coming out, right? They swap all, they touch the point back, and then instantly swap back to that Sigma when the next point came around, and they lost it. So they lost 2 rotations of ultimate charge from one of their tank players as well as DPS and support. So it's been pretty rough for them.
I think it's sometimes just the danger of thinking that you can win those losable fights, right? We've seen them do it, right?
Yes.
So they know they can, but it's the curse of thinking you can do it and not happening, right? Because then you're already on the downside. But Mini getting an early pick at least slows some things down. As Orsted has that pulse online, doesn't seem like it's getting anything value of it, but at least they're going to be able to engage in a little bit more of a standard fashion.
Yeah, see how this Pharah is trying to choke stuff this Ashe? That's kind of what you want to do, is close the distance as much as possible on that Pharah, because it's so much easier to direct. As right now the Monkey into the backline does find the Baptiste and as well as Mini. As now look at boredom on this Ana is going to be trading out those supports with all the healing from both sides. As right now Andy coming back with that Gravitic Flux. Xavier commits it. I don't know if he will. Boredom is here, but he should lose his life very shortly, as Pro Gamer is really uncontested in a lot of ways. Yes, they have that Ashe, but they're doing a really good job of playing around their Pharah to set up and stop the Ashe from taking them out.
And not only that, you saw Boredom get a little too deep. He does confirm the kill on Suban a little bit earlier, but just wasn't able to get back, as the Bob is going to be able to contest the point. But the grab comes out and actually doesn't get anything.
It finds a couple tanks in the backline, they nano the Monkey into it, but they don't find nearly enough. As the Gravitic Flux comes out, finds the Zarya, who doesn't have that personal bubble, who just used it earlier. And now there's a bunch of trading going on at this point, but like I said on other game modes as well, it really does favor the defense. But even as I say that, Pro Gamer has his barrage, and Sigma is down, the only way to eat it. It does favor the defense, but not when everyone dies at once. You really have to stagger the fight out as much as possible. And Pro Gamer's on a warpath, looking for even more. He's going to try to solo barrage this McCree right now, doesn't quite find it, a little bit messes up, a little bit too far away to get most of that value, as now the contest comes in. The McCree touches for just a second, loses their life, but that's all they really need to get the time onto that point. Boredom's coming back on this ball, gonna be stuck down, but they don't have any ults available here, and no ults for either side. This is purely a neutral fight, and it favors the team who's gonna have all the positioning advantage. Boredom touching around, does have that Moira orb to follow them. No adaptive shield though. That does not come up for a couple seconds, as everyone is cleared off at this point, and they should be capping it right here with about 2 minutes to go. A really nice push here from Battalion.
I mean, we're just seeing both of these teams just taking punch and counter punch from every map, every fight that this grand finals has already had, right? So you saw how Godhand was able to come back in a dominant fashion for Hanamura, and now we see Battalion doing the same thing on their, at least in their attack, for their own map pick, right? We see how comfortable they are on this non-rush, more divey type style, right? And they're executing really, really well. And Pro Gamer pretty much just went untouched the entire time, right? He gets punished there by Mini there in the replay. But what was that, towards the last point of the map? Like, he was getting nanos, he was getting the barrages, he's solo barraging Mercy. I mean, he was just having pretty much his entire way with Godhand. And they know that he's a commodity that they need to watch. Yet still getting value and still getting putting up a really respectable time on their attack, does Battalion. So Godhand, what do they have in store for us on their attack? Because I mean, clearly it seems like Battalion is much more comfortable on a more divey type style. So this is very good for them. They must be feeling really good.
With how this series has gone so far, I think Battalion taking that first map is going to be absolutely critical. to the outcome of this series, because when you win that first map, it gives you the luxury of you're gonna have the last map choice. If it does go to a map 7, you're gonna have the luxury of that last map choice, because if you keep trading maps 1-to-1, like let's say they go to a style that fits them, and then they go to a style that fits them, a bet like and
Or
you just
worse,
keep trading
map
it back.
7s? Don't you know about ties? Come on now.
Sorry, my bad. Ties do exist, but I don't expect that to occur here, as both of these teams are extremely potent enough that I don't think. I think their attacks and how they play around those draw situations are going to be strong enough to break it. As we do see the dive coming out here very early from God Hands, already jumping up. The Diva is low, but they're going to get healed up with that biotic grenade. It's going to give them a lot. Cubed is already low though, and Kairo's on the flank looking for them. They find him with the punch, and they get instantly traded out. We're going to be seeing if they can get that brick back in the fight as soon as possible. But before that, they're just building up Kitten's Nano right now. Already 30% up on their opposition, and this is a really slow fight, slow competition that's going to come out here from both these teams.
And that's exactly right. I mean, the key to the game here is the Nano getting built here. As we see, Kitten already has it, so we're going to see that Nano get invested right here as soon as she gets it.
And they're going to load right down onto that Monkey. Going to be looking at the back and look to build up that Primal, but of course, Mini finds the all-important DPS duel, and now it's just Andy shooting whoever's closest to him, not committing anything, doesn't have that bubble to keep pushing forward. Looks for that Mercy now that they do have it, jumps forward and finds a lot of that damage. Now that the Mercy's in danger, they have to fly out, cannot help their Winston survive. And now it's Orsted looking to take everyone out on his own on this outside, and lives with almost 30 HP there, as the recall wasn't available, but still some nice movement there gets them out alive. And we talked about how this looked like it could go back and forth, but a really good time here going into second for God Hands.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like they just executed a lot better than Battalion did in the neutral, right? They're just taking the high ground, slowly but surely, playing the slow game, building that Nano. Didn't really get a lot of, like, final blow effectiveness from that Nano of the Winston, but still just pushed everyone back all the way into the cafe, and just creating that, again, that kill box that was so effective for the rest of God Hand, for Horses to go and try and take the attention of 3 different ones that we see there. And now we see the contention of this high ground on point B.
And now this is the time, if you are Battalion, to stop this advance here. You have Star Platinum absolutely clobbering the Ana here, and now going to be looking for this Brig as well. This gets stunned up by 2 different characters, both the Brig and the McCree, but has that jump away because the Primal Winston, of course, only 2 seconds on that jump. Going to be able to get them away as Orsted finding the Pulse Bomb, finds the Ana, and going to be looking to deny this res. They can't quite do that as the bubble comes out from the Monkey. And Orsted, no recall, going a little bit too deep for something he can't quite find. How does Mini find himself on the flank in front of the supports? I do not know. Obviously with that elevator, as Pro Gamer finds out the Tracer, but Suban is dead. No res available for Miss, who just used it moments ago, but really scrappy so far, and this grab is going to be critical.
And not only is it critical, but look at Godhand has another Nano online for Andy to be able to see. So trying to negate the flank there from Midi, obviously, but it's all going to be here on the... We have the grab pulse here. Will they actually use it, though? We've seen most of these teams just try and take opportunities, but the rally is already enabled, so we're going to see the fight happening very soon.
There's the Nano, the Mercy's going to go low. Oh, Boydum! You absolute legend! You ate the grab! That's one of the most valuable ults on that team composition gone, and now you have Cairo, who doesn't have a good target to Pulse Bomb because there's no grab available, throws it under the cart, can't even use it that effectively, as Boydum absolutely pops off and carries the fight, in my opinion. Oh, I love Boredom. Have I said how much I love Boredom?
It's the same story as that first map in Ilias, where it seems like it's a fight that is entirely kind of focused on Battalion, or at least favoring Battalion with the ult combinations that they have. But Boredom's like, nah, just no. I'm just not honestly, gonna let that happen.
I just really like Boredom.
It has been such a clutch performance from Boredom so far, and we're only 3 maps in, or half of the 3rd map in. So, I mean, Godhand, already 4 minutes and 20 seconds going into this point C attack, and they have a lot of ultimates. They have Primal to be able to sustain, they have that Pulse for extra pick potential, Mini as well with that High Noon, so they're in very good positions.
Yeah, you have that fight if you are Battalion, which is your fight to win. What's that looking for the Ana? Doesn't quite find it. The bubble is available. The High Noon, though, is going to follow. You have all the cooldowns forced because of that Pulse Bomb, and now you can follow the High Noon. This is what I love about Godhands. They're so good at following up ults. Even if they don't find immediate value, they can find secondary value. As now, the Primal is available. He does manage to find the McCree, but it's going to be Andy trying to counter dive onto this Brigida. Let's see if they can do it. It's a very survivable character, but not as survivable as they used to be, as the Primal could do a lot of effectiveness. But the Ana is back, and is going to be healing them up. Look at that nade on that Brigida, but it doesn't matter. The Nano happens, the biotic grenade fades onto that Brigida, and now on this backside, it's going to be the Zarya going low. does have to get Nano to survive as the pulse bomb finds Andy as he's jumping out. Now peeling back for Oystead as Boredom finds Cesaria. A lot of the damage is gone and Mini cleans up too. This is a really nice fight here from God Hands, coming in with 3 minutes. And we talked about how Battalions had a really good time, and God Hands says we can do it better.
Right, another counterpunch between these two teams, and I think one thing that I noticed is that Subban is always behind on ult charge compared to Kitten, and I'm like, why is that? You know, because both teams are kind of fighting the same fights in this neutral, and I think, yeah, not only is the D.Va prevalent, right, being able to eat that, but also I think they're just doing a really good job of killing Subban. I mean, look at that, just in the highlights here, we're seeing death from D.Va Bomb, you have the Tracer on them at all times, so it's not from a matter of positioning, right, that they're just getting caught out or they're being careless with that and leading to unnecessary deaths. I think Godhand is just really taking it through the back line of Battalion. And also, I think that's important in the sense that you have Mist on the Mercy here. Will that be effective here? Obviously, Pro Gamer is going to be swapping back over to the famous fire that he's had that was so effective on the first attack. But, I mean, that was just led to a big contribution of all those fights where Godhand had that nano and Battalion did not. So keep watching for that as we have the difference in these support lines going forward.
Yeah, and I think looking forward here, that Brigitte here for Cubed has done a really good job of keeping Kitten alive, keeping Kitten in that fight, and keeping them available to get that ultimate charge, like you said. And one of the big factors of why they've been winning these fights, they have that nano so much more for Andy. As right now, the Samba's going to be interesting to see if it can manage to shut down this Pharah. It's a lot less of that direct pressure on the Pharah, but a lot more of maybe some secondary pressure by disabling any follow-up that could happen off that Pharah damage.
And it seems like they really want to make the Sombra work. Godhand has run the Sombra on a multitude of these different compositions already. As Mini finding an early pick on Cairo, so he's not going to go on that flank again.
Yeah, and now the monkey jumping into the high ground is going to get punished instantly. The bubble does come out, gets it burned, and now both of the bubbles, as the double bubble composition is named, are gone, and he will lose his life. Sometimes when you're down like that, when the Tracer, you can't jump in on that monkey because you've lost a lot of that pressure of just the threat of a Tracer, right? Because then the McCree has to look elsewhere for that Tracer, but now he can just look straight at you. And now the counter dive coming out here from Andy, it finds Mist. And now the nade coming in from Kitten is also massive, and that is Mini. On this left side flank, it's untouched right now. You're going to be flanking onto this and finds the headshot to clean them up, and that's how they sense of the flashbang, but that's just good enough as Kyle is going to get hunted down by Oystead for a change. Usually it's Sombra that's getting harassed by Tracer, not the other way around.
Yeah, we only have a minute left here, and Oystead already has 65% of that EMP ult charge. To his credit, they have done a really good job of building that ult throughout the entirety of this grand finals already. So, more importantly, what does Battalion have to work with here? They don't really have a lot, but Kitten already has a nano.
Yeah, and Nano's going to go down on this Winston as soon as possible to get him that final look, and they're looking for it. And now they're going to go onto the outside looking for that Ana. Subban is super low, but he's asleep. A really nice sleep comes out, but Oystead, who can see when people are low health, finds the kill. They throw up the Ana, no sleep, no nade, they're gone. And now the Pharah in the back line disconnected from the Mercy, and they're not going to last very long. You see the manual hack coming out on the Cairo here. Cairo doesn't shoot him even once, and now it's time here for Cairo to lose their life, and 15 seconds to go, and not really much you can do. You have to run into an EMP, which is not something you ever want to do.
Yeah, this is pretty much a death trap for Battalion here. And we've seen crazier things.
All 4-man EMP is going to come out here, going to shut everything down. Every company is down to half health already. No one has abilities to even touch the point, as Mini as a little bit of flares on that flank looking for 3. That's a really good job there from Godhands, and I said there was probably not going to be a tie here, and I expect that to be true further, but I'm looking for the Battalion to prove me wrong. Maybe we can have a barn arson to end this season off for the Transcendence here, because honestly, if you haven't been following Tranquility playoffs so far, and if you haven't been following Gizmo's cast so far, all of them have been map 7, map 8s, and they've all been incredibly enjoyable and incredibly close matches to watch. So let's see if we can get another one of those. Again, it would really work for both these teams. They know a lot about each other. Not only did Godhands coach Battalion, but also Battalion has a little bit of insight of what Godhands might be thinking of, you know, because they might coach them in similar ways.
For sure. I mean, this is really the crunch time, right? This is how you can win and lose series right here in these extra overtime rounds. And I mean, we flirted with the idea of a tie, but you know, it could still happen, right? Battalion could put up a defense here as they're going to come out with the same composition. They've been very comfortable running here on Hollywood. This is what they have, right? So Godhand has been able to pretty much solve it for the most part, or maybe it was just Mini that was solving it, right? Just getting how many final blows in just the 1 or 2 minutes that Battalion had to attack, and they really never even got a proper push, right? They didn't have really any ultimates online. because they just getting picked off by mini, right? They tried to take the rotations in the worst possible places. But, you know, it's all about how does God Hand take this execution on this attack.
Yeah, and they have that EMP from Worsted, who's been really consistent with getting multi-man EMPs, so I'm expecting that to not change right here. He's also been really good at farming them, and he has 3 minutes to do so. You could probably expect maybe even 2 EMPs here available for this round if it goes to the final moments, but might not even go that far, as
no,
Mist is already dead, and Pro Gamer is going to lose their life as well.
Boredom. Just, you know, 2 final blows right off the bat here is looking pretty dangerous for Battalion.
Yeah, and now the sleep comes out onto Andy. He's also antied up. Antied, haha. As you see the monkey on the point, but we're getting burned down. Yes, he's a main tank.
No.
Yes, he can take a lot of damage, but when both a Diva and a McCree are shooting at you, that's just too much. As Cairo goes down, he does trade out 2, but that's going to be Orsted here with the Brick Pocket. He's going to do a lot of damage, and now the Doomfist is looking for the Zombo. That's not the person you want to go for. They have the get out of jail free card at any point. They can also hack you. Manual hack doesn't find the Lucio cancel at the last moment. The Doomfist in the corridor is going to lose their life first. Lucio still on this point somehow, but Andy's going to clean it up with that Tesla cannon. Going to do so much damage as the Brigida going to find some stuns with this McCree, with the ball's already dead before they can even get that stun off. As now the Tracer going to be losing their life as well very shortly. At first it'll be the no, it was Tracer first. And that will be the round going with the God Hands. After a very strong time set from Battalion, God Hands responds with a very good time of their own and then a good defensive hold on top of that. So really, I can't say anything more than this is kind of the God Hands we were expecting to see in these grand finals, even since the early stages of this tournament. This is kind of the team, this dominant, consistent, resilient team that we've always expected of them.
Yeah, this honestly just seemed like another day at the office for God Hand, honestly. That defense, their own attack after letting up the attack that Battalion had, which is really good offense in its own right. But God Hand just looked so comfortable, honestly, in their attack. In every situation they had, you had pop-off moments from multiple people on that roster. You had Boredom getting the first 2 kills in that push, right, which was pretty much the nail in the coffin for Battalion, taking the Mercy out pretty much right at the beginning. And then Mini on their defense was just popping everybody's heads. So it was just God Hand just kind of exerting their will, so to speak, on Battalion. And now the pressure's on Battalion because they lost their own map. And in this grand finals, they have to pick another one. And they went in with a very specific, obviously, idea in mind, picking a composition that wasn't really more rush-oriented, and God Hand beat them at their own game. So they can play both of these compositions quite flexibly.
Yes, but don't, and it will be 2-1 here for God Hands. And now we will having this short halftime here. Of course, I'm getting tongue-tied. It's been a long day for me, but we'll have a quick halftime here because we're going to give these teams a little bit of chance to strategize. Maybe a little refresh, get some water, get some bio breaks in there. Obviously, anything an Overwatch gamer does need in between these really tense games. But don't go anywhere because we're coming back. We're going to be having looking towards the conclusion of this extremely hyped grand finals. We're going to see can Battalion bring it back. They just lost the map of their choice, but they can go to another of their own. We saw them take Ilios earlier, so high hopes for them. And God Hands, can they continue their consistent domination that they've shown throughout this entire year? Well, you gotta stick around to find out.
And girl, you look so fine with your heart on the line. And you're probably my savior. You're probably my soul. And girl, you look so fine with your heart on the line. You've won this time, made up your mind, and I'm talking to myself. And you're probably my savior. You're probably my soul. I can't feel you.
Hello and welcome back, Overwatch Tranquility's fans. As I
There
was
he
in the
is.
void for a second there, but I'm back. You know, I just escaped the void, and this is what Battalion's trying to do. They're trying to escape the void that is God Hands right now, as they look to push back into this series, as they do go down on their own map pick, which is not something you want to see, but something to talk about. If we're talking about God Hands right now, is their DPS duo of Mini and Orsted. These two players right now are just absolutely cracked out of their mind, but also not only are they cracked and hyper explosive, but they're also very consistent. You see them a lot of the time, especially Mini, getting the first pick of almost every single fight. A lot of the time in these compositions, especially Winston compositions, you see it being that Winston finding the first pick, because a lot of the time you put almost all your resources into that Winston on that first initial engage. But even despite all those resources being put into Andy, Mini is still finding first pick, and then Orsted, of course, is getting also those cleanup kills, going in, matching Mini's aggression, matching his tempo, and helping him out on these flanks, which is so vital if you are this DPS duo to be so in sync like that.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, I think, most importantly, big factor coming into the reason why they're up 2-1 right now for this DPS line is just the clutchness, right? So
Yes.
we've seen how many different fights that could have gone a different way, and we see Godhand pull it out from some reason, somehow, and you have to say, what happened there? Well, it's probably one of the DPS popped off. You have Mini lighting up the kill feed there with at least 3 kills in that one of those highlight clips alone, and you have Orsta just being a really good complementary piece, being able to play pretty much any other hero that we've seen, and we've seen a lot of Sombra come out in this grand finals as well, and they've been doing really good job of building up the EMP really quickly, and pretty much just doing the job that they need to do, right? And that's essentially just enabling, getting the space from the main tank and from Boredom as well, and just being able to take it to the rest of Battalion. So I think it's just the combination between those two. You can see the chemistry, you can see how long they've been able to play together, very comfortable, and just really got to watch out for them at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Battalion here, and I'm trying to figure out what they can do to come back into this. And they are picking Junkertown, again, another map where it isn't as rush favored on that first point, on that second point, and on the third point, honestly, as well. All the points, it's just Junkertown. As I make a very long way of saying what I meant to say in the first place. Junkertown, very good non-rush map, which is what we said Battalion wants to go to, and of course that didn't pan out in that last map. But looking towards Escort, who are the pieces here for Battalion that you have to look towards to see to get back into this game?
Well, I think again it's going to come back down to pro gamer, and I think it also depends on what kind of composition do they really want on Junkertown. It's a very unique map, we all know it. It doesn't lend itself to rush, but dive isn't the greatest, at least on first point either, right? So you maybe will see some Orisa Sigma double shield from 2019 come back out, right? Or we might see some ball Sigma that we saw earlier in this year and throughout all of contenders and early, last year as well, right? So I really am curious to what Battalion comes out with. We're seeing a little bit of it now. They're flirting with the ball Sigma, as we've seen. Ball Sigma coming out on both sides, that is. So yeah, I mean, I think the big battle here is going to rely on the hit scan battle. You have Mini on that Widow, and then you have, well, Pro Gamer on the Bastion. That's a pretty good competition there. Or Kyra on the Tracer, right? So the Tracer v Tracer between the MVP and Orsted, how well is that going to go? And then obviously, if Pro Gamer gets off a Bastion, we don't know if he will, and I'm sure he will. What is that going to look like either, right? So we see Kyra flirting with the Soldier as well. What is going to happen, right? So they keep changing around these different compositions from the attacker's side. But in the end, I can't doubt they're going to run that way. There you go. So we'll see the hit scan competition between Pro Gamer and Mini.
Yeah, and right now, looking at these two teams, seeing basically the same composition except for Gamer on the McCree as how this pans out. No one will cut just yet. Gonna have to touch that in a second if they want that cut to move at all. But right now, there's
And another
jockeying
big
for that
difference here,
position.
worse though. Another big difference is cubed on the Brig versus the Zen
Oh, I
Mercy
see, yeah.
from Battalion, right? So that's going to be good for the anti-dive from Godhead.
Yeah. And I mean, looking about these teams right now, the reason why you're running this Ball over, let's say, a Winston is because Winston has a headshot hitbox when he's diving. Ball does not. So against things like a Zenyatta, like a McCree, like a Tracer, with how linear Monkey's dives are, and with the fact that he has a headshot hitbox, which is so much damage to him, it's just not really fun for the Monkey to even play the video game on this map into a composition like this. So obviously, gonna pick the Ball here as, again, we see Andy finding a kill on that Sigma. And again, it's really interesting to see that Boredom picks up almost every single tank in the game for this team, for Godhands right now, which is not something you typically see, right? Typically see Investigation has a really nice play there from Snipe Platinum. Kills Orsted. Obviously, it's a trade kill, and Boredom picks up Mist, but that was a really good play from Snipe Platinum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have Mini on the Widow. It's the kind of that glass cannon type of character, especially with such a highly mobile composition that both teams are playing. It just seems like Italian's having a tough time even getting the positioning here. As Programmer's going to try and take some of that positioning. Takes out Kitten. All right, so they do have a spot here, but also with Mini as well. Right? So they are starting to find some ground even with the fall of Suba.
Yeah, and right now the Sigma's gonna try to push out from this bottom right hand corner. It's gonna be hard for him, right? The Zen's gonna discord him. He's gonna get spammed out by this Sigma. You have the Ball here from Boredom can touch, has the mines as well. Andy is looking for a grab fight. Flux, he gets flashbanged though. Of course, does not continue on, but Gamer will get booped into the mines there and lose his life. Star Platinum will follow. Orsted is doing a really good job of pressuring anyone he needs to pressure as he finds two, both the Zenyatta and the Ball of Dead. And despite Miss going Battle Mercy with that Valkyrie, despite killing the Widowmaker, that's not as high impact as what could have been done potentially if they were peeling for the Zenyatta. Instead, they lose their Zen, they lose their Discord, they lose almost everything that they could have had, and they even create a pulse here in a lost fight. Just not something you want to see.
Yeah, just behind enemy lines, it's not going to do a really nice shot by Mini, even if Pyro is pretty low. But again, I mean, it's just, how do you find the space here as the rest of these kills? It seems like they're coming in at least around the payload with the with the mines there. But still, the kills from Godhand, they just keep trying to find their way in these fights.
Yeah, and they're going to be looking here. Mini is going to be basically untouched. A really nice shot there. Didn't even have to have sights up to find that head, tracking him a little bit through that wall. As Kairo's like, this is enough. I can't contest Orsted on this Tracer. I'm going to have to try and contest Mini on this Widowmaker. But Mini has the wall hacks available. That's going to be a massive difference here. Who will take this Widowmaker duel?
Yeah, and I think in the end of the day, it's the difference. I think a lot of it comes down to the Brig, actually, surprisingly so. I mean, just makes the life so much tougher for Battalion to be able to dive the back line. And also, what is the Mercy really doing here, other than pocketing per gamer? But, like, still not really finding the effectiveness that you'd like to see.
Seeing Mini here, he pops the sight, but he has to be so wary of Star Platinum on that Ball. Probably Boredom going in this back line, doesn't have the Mines Coin yet, is going to get it off this next little hit and run to go. And with that comes a good influx out from Battalion. They have to try to take their advantage right now, but they can't find it. And the Sigma Rock War does go over to the side of Andy, so a really nice job in that Sigma 1v1. It's pretty minor, as we see a pause, a little bit of a unfortunate reality of competition is that technical delays do end up occurring, and we'll be hoping to get that fixed as soon as possible for you. But I mean, right now it's looking like a really strong hold here from Godhand's Beak, and you said a lot of it attributed to that Brigida, but there are some other factors.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to belabor that point, but there's one thing I want to add on to that, and the reason why I think that is actually perfectly exemplified in that fight right before. Boredom goes in pretty deep. They all turn around and put all the sorts of all of the cooldowns and damage onto him, but he still gets out, right? That, if they had a Brig in the back line, totally would have stopped that grapple hook and would have confirmed that kill, right? So that's exactly why the threat of the Brig is so omnipresent. Not to mention the rally, which is an incredible ultimate on its own. Not to mention continually armor packing your Tracer, which is super powerful as well. So, I mean, again, it's only one example, but it's been super important, I think, in the long term of this attack from Battalion. And I love seeing the Battle Mercy regardless, even if they're not doing a good job on this push.
Yeah, and we did get confirmation game did crash, and unfortunate. This happened. I had my game crash on me mid-competition before, as we are going right back in. No delay in the action here at Overwatch Tranquility, as the High Noon will be coming into this backside. He almost gets one clip by the Tracer through the Mercy pocket. As the Sigma goes low, they will force out the Trans though here from the Zen, but the stick from Orsted again! He's so good at finding those sticks on the targets he needs to kill. And now the Mercy in the air, overtime's ticking down. There's gonna be a full hold on Junkertown, and after that first map, it seems that God Hands has woken up. And they are out for blood right now, taking out everyone in their path as they take really strong first hold here.
Yeah, really does seem like Godhand is slotted in quite comfortably in this grand finals match between their brethren and friends at Battalion. I mean, it just seems like they are in cruise control, honestly. And not only that, it just seems like Battalion's starting to get kind of at a loss for answers, right? They're looking for different openings and different kind of cracks to try and penetrate Godhand's kind of an armor here, and it doesn't seem like they're really finding it, right? They're struggling on the front line. They're struggling with any type of flanking game, and I think that's a really good job by, like you said, Orsa just being there, always omnipresent. You have Mini taking any type of those picks on that Widow, so you have to respect him, obviously, in the sight lines you have. So it's really tough so far for Battalion as to, like, when they're trying to break down how to crack the egg that is Godhand. What do, right? So it seems like they always go back to their comfort pick here in Pro Gamer with the Pharah, which has done them a decent amount of job, right? It's gotten them this grand final, A. And B, I mean, it's gotten them decent effectiveness so far in this match as well, right? So, but now that they're going to be on this Reinhardt composition as well as the double shield with, and it's not Rush because there's no Lucio. And how are they going to start playing this around, right? Because, you know, this is going to be fairly interesting. Yeah, I mean, so, I mean, obviously Godhand's going to stay with a little bit more traditional composition with the double shield, as we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah, and the Pharah is trying to get pressure into the spawn, right? They're going to try to just spam out the tropes and stop them from getting out without taking some damage. And that's exactly what they're going to be doing right here. As he finds the Baptiste, but there's a TP on the high ground. A really nice play here to get that Bastion set up on the high ground. We can contest this Pharah very easily. When the Pharah is shooting down on this Bastion, it can be a little bit hard. You can kind of just play out of LOS and just jiggle peek them. But right this, they have to commit really hard if they want to get any kind of an angle on this Bastion. But the same can be said if they have to commit to this cart if they want to try and move it. And right now, the Pharah goes up on the backside and gets taken down so low, it might even get chased down here. As there's going to be so much damage coming out, they're just forced into this room. It's like holding spawn on Dorado in that small room they used to do with the May and the Junkrat and everything. It's the same kind of idea, but a little bit less as effective because the room isn't as small. There's a lot more angles to get into the room, and also this high ground is super strong here for like hit scan DPS like a Bastion. It's always dead. As I'm saying, this is microwaving the entire enemy team right now on that Symmetra, and they're gonna stay on it because they do have that wall. They set up a TP to spawn as well, so very interesting what they're doing with Symmetra on Junkertown.
Hey, worse. I mean, you did flirt the idea out there, floated out there that that you might see some Bastion from Godhand. Exactly. So I think they did scout out the Battalion that was on the Rhine. They knew that they would try and do some type of spawn camp, which is really the only card that Battalion has left to play on this map. And as we see, the kill does come in. Mini is dead, as is Orson. All right, so we might see some light here. Pyro not letting the map end just yet. So this is actually going to make something fairly interesting because I don't know if they're going to stay on this Bastion. Hard to retake the cart once it's, you know, kind of once you're off of it. So this is interesting. I mean, they do have that wall for the recontest, but what is Battalion, or what is rather Godhand going to be doing on this attack? They're going to stay on the Bastion, right? So it doesn't matter where they can position this. It's all about the TP and trying to keep an eye on where both of these DPS are. Pro Gamer has a good eye in the sky for that.
Yeah, his Pro Gamer goes down to 25 HP, doesn't have that pocket to keep him up as well. Suki and his now Cairo. It's another shot, and Barrage comes out as well. The Res is going to be here to follow to keep Pro Gamer alive as Cairo hits even more shots. And this is what you have to do, right? This is what you got to do against that Bastion composition, against that super slow double shield. You got to just get in their face and stop them from doing what they want. And now Godhand's going to swap it up.
Yeah, but careful. I mean, look at the time. There's only a minute and a half, right? So just like in the first map of Ilios, so team has a really clear path to victory here, but if they're not careful, that time can run out fairly fast, right? So Mini's trying to get the head of Mist here, but look at the ultimates. A lot of ultimates on both these teams.
gotta be careful here if you're this fair. And even you don't have to worry just about the Widow, about the ball and the Tracer as well. They'll dive you. They don't care if you're fair. They don't care if you're in the air. But as that happens, somehow the Reinhardt managed to chase down Andy without a speed boost. And now even the Sigma's getting in on the action. There's a lot of damage coming out here from multiple parties as Kitten is off the map along with Cube. The reset is called out. They pull the window and then reset. Maybe not what you would have wanted.
No, I mean, you kind of have to. Look at the time. There's 40 seconds left. You only have one really true fight left to go. Both tank ultimates online for the defense here. They have that flux. I mean, if they're caught in a certain position here and they have to take a fight to point, that flux is going to be really important from Greninja. They have a lot of tools here for this battalion, but Godhand never out of a fight.
Andy's gonna throw him up. The lamp is already forced. You still have this beat available for Cubed. There's no lamp, which is the defensive ultimate basically for this team of Battalion. So you have the defensive ult advantage. You have Boredom with mines in the back line. The beat comes out, finds the Sigma, gonna keep them alive in the air. And now the Reinhardt on-cart left alone. The window is there, but not enough healing can come out even through that window. The Sigma's on this high ground, gonna have that grass available to keep them alive, but not for long enough. The mines are still alive. They're preventing the access to the point from that angle as the Mercy goes low, and Boredom is rolling through, finds the punch, takes out the support. The support the follow will be this bad piece as Boredom again rolling through everyone, and a really nice job. Final seconds there from Godhand to take what could have been kind of a steal there from Battalion, because we kind of gave them the map after that full hold from Godhand, and that looked way closer than it should have. In so many ways.
I mean, it almost seemed like Godhand eased up on the pedal a bit, right? They came out, they tried. It wasn't even trolling. I think they were smartly countering that spawn camp composition that Battalion had with the Bastion, with the double shield. So I like that they did there, and then they lost the fight because Cairo popped off, as you see in that play of the game. And then they stayed on it, and then Per Gamer got some value because they tried to do a cheeky TP, and then I mean just the time that they sliced off in that beginning of hiding in that hut was significant, because by the time 2 fights ish happened, it's a minute and a half left, right? So you're starting to wonder, like, all right, do we stay on this comp? Do we just further invest in this, right? So Cairo getting caught in this backline wasn't good on their attack either. I mean, this is the reasons why. I mean, it was closer than it should have been, honestly, because I think if Godhand just swapped to something full tilt off of that one loss, they got past the spawn, they got to pretty much one fight territory. All they needed to do was just win one here, and they still ended up getting the W, right? Godhand still pulls it out as they always can, despite all the ultimates that I think Battalion had ready and up their sleeve. But I think that's been a pretty common theme of this grand final so far.
Yeah, and I think you are in kind of a rough situation here if you're Battalion. This is match point for Godhand. Again, you're picking your own map, but you've lost the last 2. And it's just rough. You're going back to control, but you've seen the most success in this series. You won control the last time around with that fair, and what a map for fair, right? For Lee Jang Tower. But you also have Symmetra Rush that can work extremely well as well. So this is not a map that is purely a Battalion, quote-unquote Battalion favored, because we've been talking this whole time like, oh, if Battalion gets on those dive comps, that they're just a better team than, or they do better than Godhand, but that's not even the case. Godhand has mirrored them, or close to mirrored them, and beaten them quite handedly at times. So that's not even close to the truth right now. In a lot of ways, Battalion has the strongest possibility, we believe, on those compositions, but even then it's just not enough against Godhand sometimes.
I mean, it does seem like a good last-ditch effort here for Battalion now that they are on match set, to go to a map that favors Pharah pretty well, right? Assuming they don't get control center first here, but this is a map that they can make it work, and at least the silver lining for them is they have won a control map already against Godhand today, right? So if you're going to start the comeback, it's going to be in Lijiang Tower and it's going to be control. So I think this is a really good spot for them. I think they need to kind of recollect themselves, so to speak, and try and get back out there, right? Because right now it seems like Godhand has the finger on the pulse of the game, and they are just dictating it in any way they see fit. And even with the almost loss there on Junkertown on that attack push, it still seems like Godhand knows what they're doing here and has full control.
Yeah, and something that is a little bit interesting about Godhand as a whole, they have a lot of substitutions and depth that they can do. Another one, again, we've talked about on that Lucio position. Again, it will be Aurora coming in for Zuby or Cubed, and they also it's kind of interesting how they keep swapping up this main support. Obviously, it's benefited them in both ways. It's just not a tactic you typically see. Obviously, you see it come out from certain Texas-based teams when they have Repel in the lineup. It occurs quite often. I don't know if it's his contract or something like that, but for here, they just kind of like swapping those Lucio players in between maps. I don't know if it's a different style that they see with those teams, but we'll be starting out with Night Market here, and this is kind of what I was talking about with Symmetra Rush.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very possible, right? We'll undoubtedly see some form of that, but we'll also, I think, undoubtedly see Per Gamer on the Pharah here too, right? So once we see this in 3 seconds, it's going to be pretty predictable once we come into this, right? So boom, could have bet my entire house on that and would have made some money, or maybe it wouldn't have made any money at all. But what I do think that's interesting is no one's really flirting with that Symmetra Rush comp, right? So we've seen both flavors work here on Night Market in Lijiang Tower, right, where you have the ball Sigma dive, right, you're trying to control different lanes of the map, especially as this control. And both teams are going to try and take this, right? And I don't think that's an accident. Both teams play each other a lot. They know that they probably have gone through the cycles of metas between themselves collectively and just always end up basing on this.
I think something that might be, maybe they both expect the other team to run out on the Symmetra comp, and this is kind of considered what you would counter the Symmetra comp with, because you can surround the point and kind of avoid what Symmetra is good at. So maybe they both see that. As I say that, Pogamer's been so nasty on this Pharah this entire series, despite the losing scoreline. He has been a super bright spot on that Pharah as another damage boosted direct kills 3. Oh, Pogamer! I told you Lijiang is a Pharah map, and you have Pogamer on Pharah. That's just a recipe for success here as he gets the first cap again. We've seen this on previous, on Control, on Ilios. We've belabored this point. 3 points in a row now. Statistically, you're the most likely to win when you cap the first point. So, that's good looks for Battalion.
And already has basically 50% of ult charge before the point even unlocks, honestly. Getting those 3 direct kills is just pretty clear and cut fight winner there. So the focus is going to be on Per Gamer, but Boredom again in the kill feed, getting one of the healers of Battalion.
Yeah, Battalion already down that DPS as well from that damage boosting Discord orb. As Mini doesn't care, he's playing McCree's and roll into your spawn, as Orsted is there. Like I said before, but you can't leave Pro Gamer unattended for long, as he's going to find a way to answer back. And right now, it's going to be Boredom is tasked to deal with him, no matter what the character is. Ball, Diva, doesn't matter. He is going to be the one on camp Pro Gamer duty.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be, especially when there's no Diva on the other hand, right? So it's actually pretty confident of Godhand and their abilities to play this composition when they know they have such a prolific Pharah on the other side here and still not playing Diva or even an Echo.
But they flipped the point! Despite losing the Zen, Orsted is dead? He died to his own pulse bomb! As, we saw on Junkertown as well, as this point might be flipped right back over. They're playing hot potato with this point right now, but Pro Gamer, by giving up that point control, he gets all the space for free right now. No one can really contest him. This little trampoline for this Brigida, and it'll be a cleanup on this point. The mines are the Zenyatta! Okay, so imagine you're Zenyatta, right? You're getting dove over and over again. You're like, oh, I can finally walk into a safety. And you die to mines.
Yeah, isn't that the life of a flex support, though? It's just death and spawn and respawn and death and getting dove and... Yeah, exactly. Understandable. But Pro Gamer, again, taking out Mini. Yeah, I mean, this has really just been a back and forth, and I find it so interesting because the fight is not about the point, right? The fight is taking place in everywhere but the point, especially with these two compositions. And Pro Gamer and Cairo just out for blood.
Cairo showing off how to not pulse bomb yourself and instead the enemy Brigida.
Wow, Knight's still young.
Yeah, Knight's still young. We'll see it maybe from Cairo, but so far, Orsted 2, Cairo 0, so it's looking pretty good for Cairo so far. And right now, look at these ultimates available for both of these squads. You have the Gridic Clutch available for both teams, but interestingly enough, you have a defensive ult to counter in that Transcendence, which is already forced out here, as Andy didn't use his Flux, and instead, Subian's dead again. This has been the crucial part of Battalion that's been faltering each time on this control point so far, is that the Zen is constantly getting picked out and killed. Where Ninja's gonna get rocked up gonna lose their life. Mini is hunting for Pro Gamer, trying to shut him down. Can't find the 3-tap, doesn't matter. He's done his damage. He's forced him to drop down to that Mega. And now he has control over this point. The Pharah is kind of running
dangerous.
away. Going to this outside, though, like Beat just said, is dangerous. Mini does not care. Mini will 3-tap, 4-tap, 5-tap you, Pharah. It doesn't matter what he has to do. He'll do it nonetheless. The man's a machine, and he will print out the damage.
I really don't understand, though, why that Transcendence was used so early for
Yeah.
Battalion. There was no threat. You still have Andy holding that Gravitic Flux, which I thought would be a perfect counter for that, especially if the fight takes the point.
Is that
Goes
again?
down again. This has been a really dangerous soft spot here for Battalion, though. And they honestly could have closed out the point with that last fight, but no, you give Godhand an inch again, and they're going to take that, right? So now it's already 75% and counting here. And look at the ultimates they had. They don't even have to use them. And they're already isolating the other off-tank for Battalion.
As I say that, Greninja's gonna die soon, finding some revenge. They flip the point as well. That means they stay at 80%. Even if they win this fight, it's not gonna be over. Oh, the grasp is a little bit too far to the right there, and doesn't manage to save his McCree. As much as we belabored the point that they threw away that fight, they still managed to bring it back. And we've just seen how dangerous this Pro Gamer Pharah is, and why they want these kind of maps so hard. When he is on, he's on. He will hard carry these rounds.
Yeah, and I think that if Battalion has any hope to get back in the series, obviously it's going to be really important to win these control points, and that's exactly what they're doing. And despite the best efforts, it seemed like for Battalion, they were almost towards the end, as we were talking about, still just taking the fight on the point, whereas it seemed like Godhand wanted to try and isolate one of the members of Battalion, that off-tank and Greninja, towards their spawn, and they didn't die, right? The peel came in from Mist on that Mercy, and all of the investment was for really nothing, right? So the rest of the Godhand was dying on point there, and it's just unfortunate to see. But again, Godhand almost came back there, right? So Battalion has to play these near perfect, or else Godhand's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and right now we do see the rush with Symmetra coming out. Like I said, it's one of those points where it's extremely strong. Also on that last one where we didn't quite see it, but now Battalion has some breathing room. If they do lose this point, which it's not like a certainty, right? It's not like, oh, they're playing rush, they're gonna lose, but it's more than likely. And they will have that guidance to go back to. So that's really good, looking forward to that, but right now they have to get past this Symmetra rush, and right now it's going to be hard for this monkey to play the game, right? You're going to walk up, you're going to get beamed down by Orsted, Reaper TPing behind, looking for some damage maybe onto this Baptiste, but look at Orsted's health, he's just so healthy right now. Baptiste is just full pocketing him. You have the massive amount of healing that Kitten can do already to that window, which is massive as well, and you see two ults already available here for Godhands, and none even close for Battalion.
But I'm really curious what's going through the minds of Battalion here. They obviously don't want to fight Godhand in the Rush Mirror, because they're playing this composition, not a bad comp by any means, but Control Center, Lijiang Tower. This is one of the most iconic Reinhardt Rush compositions, where you play with spam, you try and take control of that white room. It's a pretty clear-cut definition of how you play this game, but they're making their lives a little bit tougher than it needs to be.
Oh, Boredom is on that outside, almost finds that. Lucio will get hacked up for it. The EMP finds 5 though, and the Coalescence to follow. Boredom goes low, but Kitten doing a really good job of keeping them all alive, but not themselves as Pro Gamer. Even on the Reaper can find 3 of his own to start the fight, and obviously assisted massively by that EMP from Cairo. And Cairo's kind of saying, you're not the only one who can play that Sombra, or instead who can flex over that. I can as well and hit these massive EMPs. Point flips over, but they're gonna lose Pro Gamer, and that's a really bad stagger.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the tip of the spear for Battalion's comp. Otherwise, they really don't have any damage at all, and Godhand can just walk in, and they have this tire ready to go too.
And walk in they do. They have the Symmetra, they have the wall. How do you play against this if you are Battalion? You're going to throw your bomb up in the air, but there's such a massive shield in the way. What are you going to able to do for that?
Big
Andy,
beat.
though, does get hacked up. The beat is there to follow. You still have that shadow, you still have that tire. Surprisingly, Tire was the first ultimate built here for Godhands, and it's still not been used, despite every other character on their team outside of the Sigma and the Reinhardt using their ultimates. That's not something you typically see. Typically, you're throwing that ult off cooldown and not waiting so long for it.
And honestly, we're seeing the values, the reason why Battalion is running this composition on Control Center now, right? Well, you get the point control, you win a fight or two. Look at the rotation now of these ultimates that you can then leverage, right? Cairo is going to be coming up on another EMP, which could be a big fight winner. Aurora doesn't have beat, right? There's really nothing to contest this, right? So it just depends on how fast does Godhand want to play, because they know this EMP is coming.
as much as I love the Boredom Sigma, I think you want to run the Diva here. You have to play faster than this and do a Symmetra. In this enemy composition, you're playing a rush comp that's actually slower than the enemy composition when they don't even have the Reinhardt. But they find the Moira. That's not typically the target you want to find with that Tyre because they have that fade. But they get it forced out and they find her nonetheless. But the trade from the Sombra, oh, the EMP's a little bit overzealous there. Only finds the 2. And now they're going to get Riveted Flux. They don't have that beat just yet. But despite using all of these important ults, the Tyre, the Shatter, the Window, the Gravitic Flux, they still don't cap this point, and they still have Subian, who died early, keeps the Coalescence, and Mist has their own beat to counter Auroras that might come up.
And that Coalescence is such an aggressive using like ultimate, like kind of a ghost sign for this type of composition, and there you go.
Yeah, the ghost sign is good, but Mini takes out the Symmetra. But what's that? Even through all those shields, it doesn't really matter. There's so much damage I can cleave. But Mini on this outside is going to look for the Lucio. Doesn't quite find him. But the trap finds the Moira. And now a really good Riki test comes in from Godhand. They're down the ult. It doesn't quite matter. And now they've actually flipped the script. Aurora's going to have their own beat. And the Kitten's going to come up on their own Moira Coalescence. Compared to Battalion, who doesn't have their own support ult.
Just every time, Godhand does the unthinkable when you think that they're going to lose a fight. They invest in a losing fight right beforehand and the ticking up to overtime, and nevertheless, still find a way to win, right? So now we have Battalion. Does have some of the ultimates on their own, but the biggest and more important one, that EMP, nowhere to be found. So you wait for this fight to go a little bit longer for or not. An early pick is surprising.
Yeah, the only pick does come out. The shield, though, is gone from Andy. He does block the shield bomb, but he doesn't have anything to follow up to stop this manual hack from coming out. But now you have this beat. You don't have that EMP to cleanse it just yet. So Gamer with that Reaper is going to throw it out. The mine is there to follow to catch him from Mini. And a massive kill comes out, stops a lot of that damage from following up with that Reaper. That's kind of the crux. That's all the damage they really had available
Last
to them.
fight territory.
Now Andy's going to find it with the Fire Strike, and now a complete turn. If you don't get the value off of that Reaper, you're not going to get much value out of this comp. That's all of your damage, really. As Kaio desperately trying to build up to that EMP. The Tyre's running back. Going to find 2 there from the spawn. The manual hack comes out. He's going to find this EMP, but he won't have anyone to follow up. What's the point of the EMP if there's no one to do damage because of it? And now the point looks like we'll be going over to Godhands, and we'll be going to another round 3 of Control as a really nice flip around. You get the 5-man. You get it, but it doesn't quite matter. The touch, though, does come out from the Doomfist. You're still going to lose your life. Lose your touch as well. Gets tracked up on that point and dies. Now the Shatter going to just end it all. And again, another round 3 here for Control. And we're going to see if Battalion can clean it up like they did last time, or if Godhands can bring back the 2-0 reverse sweep on a Control map. I say reverse sweep on a Control map. You get it.
But it's the same script though, worst as we had our first Control map, right? And we're gonna have the same kind of different philosophies on this point as we saw in the last one, right? So I'm sure Battalion has to be kicking themselves here at this point, because how often this has happened, right? They really had opportunities to close out points and different games and defenses throughout this entire grand final so far, and just let Godhand come back. Or maybe it's not even them wanting to come back, and maybe it's just Godhand imposing their will when they feel like it.
And now you're going to see, interestingly, Battalion's going to obviously program it on the fair, but Godhand's going to be running a similar composition to what Battalion was running last round. It's kind of the answer, right? They can't run the rush into this. It's going to be a really good counter comp, so they're going to run this composition with the Diva, with the Monkey, that have a little bit more of that mobility. And now, Monkey's already dead. The pro gamer's on the flank, and that's not something you want to see. Boredom does get demeched and lose their life as well. They have to jump off. The Monkey is rezzed. That's another 500 HP body to put on this point. It's the directs, though, are coming in from Boredom, but should be Soul Platinum losing his life. Or dead, though. Guys as well. So many people throwing themselves off the map here. Kind of interesting, to say the least. Everyone going over to Geisha and losing their life, and now Pro Gamer has to run for the hills. The Diva's going to be looking for them, but not too much follow-up damage outside of that Diva.
Yeah, it just seems like everyone wants to reset, I guess. I don't know, but either way, the point has been capped by Godhand. The pro gamer almost coming up on this barrage, so I think it's really interesting. How is he actually going to use it? And it gets hacked.
He's going to get hacked. That's how he's going to use it. Really nice job there for Orsted, reading what the player wants to do. And Mini on this Tracer this time. Usually this is Orsted's role that we see, but even so, he hits that stick, he hits the clips, and Boredom finds 2. Again, both of these DPS so flexible, can both just swap over to whatever their team does in fact need. And of course we have the rocks that are the tanks here, so consistent on all their characters. And just consistency is the name of the game for God Hand so far, in terms of how like explosive their players can be. Consistently explosive is not something I usually use to describe teams, but that's what I will use to describe God Hands. Is that another menu hockey go in the pit? The pit beckons. The pit does not claim another victim, but he will go nonetheless down to Boredom, who does actually give a victim to the pit as Messi goes down.
So importantly, though, I mean, yes, it didn't get the pit kill, but only one ultimate invested from Godhand, which was the Coalescence, to execute just a flawed, like a flawless dive, right? So they still have everything left to go. They still have the EMP advantage over Battalion. They're going to take it right on the bridge.
Worsted, only EMPs too, but it's too crucial. Yay, the pick bettons! The pit does in fact beckon, and the Pharaoh will be claimed as the Sombra gets the environmental kill that is associated with hacking each other out of the air, as everyone else throws themselves off the map. This map has just been a lot of just resetting.
And worse though, this is his last fight.
Yeah.
90%. Look at the ultimate Godhand still has on site to try and defend this. Battalion has a lot in their treasure chest, but this could be the end of Tranquility Transcendence tier right here, right now. Look at the
he
bomb!
shoots! Wait a minute! He has the movement to get out of that. The beat though is there to stabilize. That's about 1,000 HP gifted to all of the team members, and now it's gonna be Andy just punting people around on this point. Yes, the Coalescence is out for Subian. Yes, it's gonna keep everyone up, but now ProGamer looking for some kills. Doesn't quite find the Sombra. He should just get out of it just at the last second. The barrage though is gonna find this Sombra, but gonna be going so low, but they flip the point. Exactly what you need. You retake here on that last fight territory, but again, you still are in danger. It's not over yet.
That's right. I mean, Battalion does live to survive another day, but Coalescence online again for Godhand to be able to push us in. Mini has been dangerous on this Tracer, and now he has a pulse bomb ready to go. Orsted has a slight advantage on that EMP, but when they go with the super aggressive, obviously he's going to build it even faster, right? So TPing out this Cairo, and now he has that advantage even more.
Yeah, the Pulse Bomb, though, finds a lot of damage. It puts that monkey so low they lose their life. The Moima is gone as well. There's no one to sustain on this point, really. And now Kitten going to be just left-clicking, going to be just spraying their healing all over everyone on their team, and it's going to be left to Mini to clean up on this point on this Tracer, as he's been so consistent on every other character he's played so far. I see no reason why he wouldn't be on this Tracer, as now the Monkey going to be going low, going to be losing their life shortly on this point. The Tracer, though, does find the Pharaoh out of the air. He EMPs him out of the EMP, but it doesn't quite matter. Doesn't really, as Aurora finds two, and that will be Godhand taking the grand finals of the Transcendence tier, as Godhands are cementing themselves once again in Tranquility history as such a dominant force to be reckoned with. Yes, they stumbled in Stage 2. Yes, they lost that #1 seed to Tempest, but they reclaimed it right back in the playoffs, took out the main competition that many people thought in this tier of Ghostly Peppers in a dominant 4-0 Bastion. Battalion comes in here, the underdogs. They take the first map. Godhands does not panic. They go back to basics, they go back to square one, and then go, we can win this no matter what map they pick, no matter what comps they run, we can do it better, and that they do. As Godhands will be winning this 4-1 here, and will be your champions. So big congrats to them, but what a series here from Godhands so far.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just laughing to myself here as we see the cards in the end. Mini, 65% kill participation in the final map of the grand finals, and winds up being a championship run for Godhand, and just so clutch in every way. You didn't even see Mini on the Tracer until when it mattered, right? So it's just been so impressive from Godhand. Not only Mini, Orsted on this Tracer as well. We talked about Boredom ad nauseum here tonight, and just all the different impact that he had at nauseum, honestly, right? Andy was just as stable as ever, had a big shatter on Hanamura. You know, Mini just popping off on this McCree as well, just being a human highlight reel so much so, and then Orsted with these EMPs. And it's just, that is a championship team, right? Every single player we basically talked about, and even Kidden, right? The ability, how fast they were building nanos. Cubed on the Brig was so stable. I mean, they had a big roster, and we talked about how that's sometimes a detriment at times, but obviously Godhand didn't find that as a detriment. It's just been so impressive, from the beginning of the season all the way to the end, and it had bar burners all the way. And can't congratulate God Hand enough, as they've been, the veterans of Tranquility. They staked their claim once more to their crown.
Yes, and I just want to point out someone that wasn't represented in the games tonight, but I think deserves a massive shout out for their development on this roster is Ice. He didn't play in this game, but he did play in that last game, and popped off as well. Massive shout outs to him. Massive props to him. He did compete with this roster, and he is a big part of the success as well. So don't forget him. Even if you didn't see his name in the kill feed, even if you didn't see his name on those teams, he is definitely a part of that. So I've seen him in chat as well as a really nice seeing here. As again in this grand finals, it's been massive. Of course, God Hands takes that 4-1. Will be Transcendence Season 6 champions, and a really just kind of an epitome of what God Hand represented throughout this entire season. I think is their domination and how they play the game, and how consistent they are on all of their players are just so consistent in how they play, and not only in like their ability to get frags to kill feed, but also their ability to play with each other. I think it's a testament to how this roster has scrimmed, how they have practiced, how they have played together. They're just immaculate in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, can't give enough credit to God Hand for not only their play, but also it seemed like they were never down. They were down, but never out. And we saw that a ton of different times tonight. And also credit to Battalion. They battled here tonight. They have obviously a lot of personal relationships between the players of God Hand. So this was very personal to them in terms of the result of this. And I'm sure they had a lot of good time. So it's just been very interesting, I think, so to speak. And we're watching a live dance party here between the two teams just to kind of celebrate. See, there's a lot of love between these two teams, no matter win, lose, or draw. I mean,
see,
that is the nature of Overwatch. That's the nature of Overwatch Tranquility community here. I love to see it. And yeah, we don't need to see that. But we do need to see the love that is being spread between these two teams. Can't congratulate God Hand enough on a really good season.
Yep, and some people kind of doubted them in that stage 2 when they went down to Tempest and Ember in the group that they were in. They were in a stacked group, by the way. They were in a group with Tempest. They were in a group with
they were in a group
Peppers.
with us, obviously.
Okay, that was stage 1. That's stage 2. Stage 2, they were in a stacked group with Ghostly Peppers, who also made it to the finals of the Transcendence tier. They also had Tempest, who was number 1 seeded coming into this, and they lost a couple games. And people were like, "Ooh, is this the end?" No, God Hands is just they're too cool, calm, and collected for that. They came into the playoffs and they dominated like they think they always should, right? They have that belief in themselves, and really massive shout outs to them. But again, not just going to bag on how good God Hands are. Of course, Battalion are very good as well. They made it to the other runner-up, the second place of the Transcendence here, and that's something to be proud of. So do not doubt yourself. We'd love to see you back next season, Season 7. But for just this game week, for just this match, you're a player of the match.
You know what? I was going to do Boredom initially, because I think he turned some fights that were very losable and definitely lost to God Hand. But I think in the end, I'm going to have to say Mini. I think we mentioned him a bunch of different times. Just had too much pop-up potential tonight, and especially sealing the deal on Li Jiang, the Garden there was just all that I needed to see to say that he was the MVP of my grand finals. So, Mini, it's all yours.
And for me, I don't think this should be any surprise. As well-known fact, every time I cast this team, I'm a Boredom simp. And I will continue my simpage for Boredom. No one will stop me from continuing my simpage with Boredom. I think he's a cracked player. I've said it on cast. I think he's the best off-tank in Transcendence tier. I stand by that opinion. I think I think he's incredible. So I'm gonna say Boredom, and of course Mini, Orsted, great candidates as well. Kitten and Andy with those nano monkeys and those just the good job of peeling with their backline as well with Cubed. Really big shout out. But I'm a Boredom simp, and I will stick with my guns, and you can't stop me.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear that man's ego just inflating the more that Royce talks about his gameplay.
I hope it does.
And
Boredom, if you're listening, you deserve to have the biggest ego.
True. I mean, very well deserved. Elisa, especially in this game, played out as mine as the rest of God Hand squad did. So that was very impressive. Can't say enough about that team.
Yeah, but as hype as this match was, as hype as this entire season was, every good thing has to come to an end for now. This has been the end here for Transcendence, Tranquility Transcendence Tier Season 6. Of course, not the end of our production. We do have another match tomorrow, the Discord tier, Joey Esports versus Nya. I had the pleasure of actually casting the end half of the Joey Esports match last week, and it was an absolute banger. If you didn't watch that, please go back and watch the VOD from last week. For the Transcendence tier. The latter half of that VOD is actually a Joey Esports podcast because God Hands wrapped it up a little too quick, so we had to swap over to them. And that was a really fun match to cast, and it was a really fun outcome. So if you please do go back and watch that. You'll have a preview of tomorrow's matchup with this Joey Esports versus Nya, which should be a massive one. That is going to be the same Twitch channel, Overwatch Tranquility, but it's going to be tomorrow, Thursday at 8:30. So please do join us. We have a massive caster lineup there as well. I think we have Captain Jack and Bard. That's not something to miss, but neither is those teams. But again, this is the end so far for Transcendence tier. Of course, we do have All-Stars coming up as well, but for official Season 6 matches, that is it. And I have been your play-by-play Worstcast. I've been joined here by my amazing co-caster, Bcast, who crawled out of the hole that is the Persona addiction to come and join us here for this cast. And of course,
how much you people mean to me.
And I love to our amazing production team. We have Booth, Door, Juke, Laggy, and Samter. All of those are just massive amounts, just massive legends for Tranquility, in my opinion, for production. And big shoutouts to all of them. Also, big shoutouts to you, our community. We could not do this without you. It is why I love doing what I love to do. And so with that, I wish you all
Congrats to
good
partner,
night.
everybody.
And thank you for partner. You guys have also done that. Congrats to everyone, the admin team, the production team, everyone, you, the community. You've made this possible. You've made this happen. And that's why we love you, and we hope you have a good night.